Hey Hoopers, it's LoopDLu. I am here with a tutorial. I'm calling it Transitions in Off-Body Hooping and How to Deepen Your Flow. It's actually going to be a two-part video, so in this first one we're going to talk about transitions between moves from trick to trick, and then in the second video I'll be addressing more specifically flow. I have a few prefaces for this video. First, I apologize, I have my notes on the floor. So if you see me looking down, I'm reading. The second thing is I've got a lot to cover. I can't go into everything in super detail. So if you have questions about anything at all in relation to this, definitely leave me a comment in the YouTube comments, or you can find me on Hoop City. I'm LoopDLu in the daily practice group. You'll see me there. Also, I've created a Pinterest board for all of my tutorials, and when I mention other people's tutorials, they are in that board too, so then you don't have to go hunting for them because I've gathered them all together. So, I've been asked actually to do this tutorial based on just how I personally put together moves and combinations, which is something I think about a lot and put a lot of time into. So, this is all coming from me and my philosophy. There's a million ways to do things, but I'm just speaking for me. But I think that even if your style of your hoop style is, very different than mine. I'm a very technique-based hooper. I don't do a lot of really complicated tricks. You can definitely take everything I'm saying and apply it, and it can help. I see that a lot of people ask about transitions all the time on the forums. You see people that struggle with, moving from move to move, and they just feel like they stall out in between. And this is my video to try to help people with that. So I hope it helps a lot. I'm a really visual person, and my whole hoop philosophy and style stems from that. When I think of hooping, I actually think of it a lot of times in terms of like a picture or painting, the act of painting itself, or creating an image. And when I string moves together, I kind of see it like you're creating this line, and all the moves are the little dots, and you're connecting the dots. So that's sort of how I conceptualize this. Brecken's new video, Hoop Notation, a work in progress, really illustrated that point to me. And if you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out. But you can completely see how her process, how she links things together. And I think I take a pretty similar approach. So I'm going to break this all down. We're going to look at the dots first. So dots to me would be like the moves. I've kind of categorized different off-body moves. So the first type of movement would be hand hooping of any kind. Anti-spinning, passing, I guess, would be hand hooping. Palm spins, axis flips, but that's kind of iffy. I would put that actually in isolations, but so hand hooping. Figure eights, or this is also commonly called weaving, would be another off-body move. Body rolls of all types would be an off-body move. Barrel rolls, any kind of isolation of the hoop would be an off-body move category. And jump throughs would be another one. Tosses. And then my last category is miscellaneous tricks, and those would be anything, that doesn't really fit into one of my predefined categories. But the thing that's unique about a lot of the tricks you see tutorials on that have multiple steps to them is you can break those down into components. So breaking them down and figuring out all the little components of a move help you to sort of see how things flow together, but also is a gateway to variation, because you could stop at any point in the move and turn it into something else. I was thinking of a simple step through like this. which is one kind of fluid movement. But you really are starting with hand hooping. This is almost a jump through when you get the leg through. You pass it, so that's kind of another move. Another little jump through when you get your other leg out, even though your other leg's planted, and then back into hand hooping. So if you wanted to take that, you could take it into a hand, and then at this point, I'm really awkward here, but you could flip it, do something else, and then your hoop ends up being on a different plane and you can go into something else. So when you're looking at transitioning from moves, sometimes if you stop a trick a little bit before it's completed and kind of change tact, you can transition into something different. It's just something to think about. The other thing I think about with all of the moves are planes and orientation. Like, what way is the hoop in this vertical plane? Is it making a vertical line, or is it making a horizontal line? Almost any move can be done in either any orientation. And that's really fun to play with. You can play with, you know, rolls are typically in the vertical plane, but you can do them trickily, but you can do them in the horizontal plane. In isolation, if you're doing it in this vertical plane and you turn it horizontally, it becomes like stir the pot. The other thing to think about is height, and this is also kind of an orientation or plane thing, but if you took like a move like this kind of linear isolation, and you brought it down low, you could transition into something like a wedgie. Here, I'll do that better. It's a cheaty wedgie, but yeah. So when you think about all those moves, like hand hooping, figure eights, body rolls, barrel rolls, isolations, jump throughs, tosses, they're all pretty simple things to do. They get more complicated the more you get into them, but once you start changing the planes or changing the orientation, they really become different things. So think outside the box with that. So the next thing to think about is connecting all those different moves. There are, most moves require a certain kind of grip, or you can do different grips with a weave, but I'm trying to think. So this is like one grip when my palm is facing one way. This would be the other way. And sometimes you're in a grip and you want to go to a different move, and it won't happen because your wrist will break because you're just in an awkward position. So that's where something like learning a flip, a fold, a schmear or smear will help, because it will allow you to, you can connect like two different moves and get out of your funky grip and move into something else much more effortlessly. Plus it makes a kind of cool visual. So think about your grip when you're doing these moves, and a lot of moves can be done in, like I said, different grips. There's I'm not going to go over every single grip, but the ones that I use the most are probably like no grip, where my hand's not really grabbing the hoop, and that can be either on your hand or on in the crook of your wrist. I use that a lot because it really lets you just carry the momentum of the hoop, and momentum is really key. I'll get into that in a minute. But there's like warrior grip, there's what's known as happy and sleeping spider or dead spider grip, cradle, penguin, chicken. All those names, well, warrior comes from Baxter and Hoop Path, but all the other names come from Steve Baggs, and he's got a pretty in-depth tutorial called Single Hoop Intro to Advanced Figure Eights, where he covers all those grips and teaches you how to do this weave or figure eight motion in any of those grips. So definitely check that out if you're not familiar with all the different ways you can hold a hoop, because it will really help you be able to transition from moves. Something you really want to get good at is being able to quickly transition into different grips, getting nimble. And what I didn't do it intentionally, but it was a result of it. Learning that quick grip change on your thumb. I'll come in close here so you can see that. That was key. That opened up so many things for me. And I used the tutorial by Sapphire, her mini hoop tutorial, Intro to the 3-Beat Weave. She talks all about that grip and the benefits of it, or the grip change. And it really changed my hooping in like a whole lot of ways. So learning the 3-beat weave, even if you're not really into twins or whatever, it's, well, it'll open you up to twins, first of all, but it also will, it makes you move fast, and it gets you used to very quickly switching gears. So I really recommend that highly. So the next part of this would be connecting all the dots to get your flow. So whenever you're in a move or you learn a trick or whatever, I think about the very beginning of the trick. What position am I in? What position is the hoop in? My grip, and also at the end of a move, I think about those same things. And I also think about the momentum of the hoop and the momentum of my body, like am I arcing one way or another? And then figure out what moves kind of naturally will follow that, or naturally lead into those, and start drilling those things together to get like bigger sweeping combinations of moves. Really pay attention to momentum and where the hoop is going. The hoops naturally make like these big circles or the spiraling motions or these infinity shapes. I learned all of this from Brecken. I took her workshop when I was like hooping for 7 months, and it was way over my head, and I thought I got most of it, but I really didn't. And then, a year later in my daily practices, all these things that she said kind of started like clicking with me, and it just like opened me up to a whole lot of things. I don't think I'd be really in the same spot had I not taken that workshop. But she really stressed the importance of momentum and letting the hoop lead you, because that's what's going to create these seamless transitions. If you're fighting against the momentum of the hoop, or you're fighting against the direction of your body, it's not going to flow. It just can't. So unless you're trying to accentuate, now I guess I'll do a little exception to the rule. If you're trying to accentuate a beat or something in the music, then stopping the momentum and doing something else will do that. That'll create like a punctuation. So get all your combos that flow together naturally, and then start thinking of all the moves you can do that might not necessarily in your mind go together, and start stringing those together and see if you can get them to string together with just like a little grip change or a little flip of the hoop, or whatever. Figure out what you need to do to get move A and move B to stick together. And then I highly recommend doing strings of 3 moves and drilling them in every possible combination. If you take 3 moves, there's 6 combinations that they can become. I'm going to just quick run through like an example of, we'll say move 1 is this figure 8, move 2 would be an isolation, and move 3 would be a barrel roll. So you can move them together, so it would be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, and 3, 2, 1. So let's see if I can get this straight in my head. So we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2. Let's see here. 2, 1, 3, 2. Oh shoot, I already messed up. 2, 3, 1. And then 3, 1, 2. And 3, 2, 1. So it just kind of shows that whatever order you pick, and using simple moves, you can get different things. And depending on how the music is and what's going on, one of those orders might work better than the other. So, and that was just, you know, the most basic grip, the most basic isolation, the most basic barrel roll. You can get fancier, do it with different isolations, whatever. And then you can start adding little things in between those moves. So let me think about this. It would be, you could go from this kind of wave into a flip sort of isolation, turn it or whatever. So once you start getting your combinations going seamlessly, start adding little things into it, and that's what's going to really keep it fresh and keep you from getting into a rut and doing the same things over and over. There's a really fine line. You need to create muscle memory in order to just be able to flow out, but you don't want to get in the hoop rut where you feel like, oh my god, I'm doing the same thing again and again and again. So adding the little flourishes in between will help keep it fresh and change it up. So drill those combos, as I said, until you have the muscle memory really built up, and then start adding a fourth trick. You just want to be creating like chains and links of moves so that when you get to flow time, you're not thinking about them because your body just knows how to do it. So that is the end of part 1. I will continue in part 2 of this video on flow. Thanks for watching. Again, any comments, questions, throw them in the YouTube or at Hoop City in the daily practice group. You can find me. Thanks.